Cashier mocked an old woman for being short on change, but when the CEO's card declined, everyone froze. The fluorescent lights of Brookside Supermart buzzed faintly above the checkout lanes. That soundless hum of suburban life where faces come and go, but judgment lingers longer than kindness. It was early evening, the kind of hour when the world feels tired. Tired shoppers pushed tired carts down tired aisles, their eyes glazed over by routine. Eleanor Brooks stood near the back of the store, her weathered hands clutching a handwritten shopping list. At 72 years old, she moved slowly, deliberately. Each step was calculated, not from weakness, but from the precision of someone who understood the weight of every dollar. Her cart held only the essentials: a gallon of milk, a loaf of wheat bread, a can of beans, and one small item she'd been staring at for 5 minutes, a pack of birthday candles. She picked them up gently, turning the package over in her hands. October 17th, her late husband John's birthday. He'd been gone 3 years now, but she still baked him a cake every year. Not because she believed he could taste it, but because some rituals kept grief from swallowing you whole. The candles cost $2.18. She hesitated, then placed them in her cart. At the front of the store, Ryan Cooper leaned against his register, scrolling through TikTok on his phone. At 24, he viewed this job as temporary beneath him. He had plans, vague, undefined plans that somehow justified his contempt for everyone who walked through his line. When Eleanor approached, he didn't look up immediately. He finished watching a video, smirked at the punchline, then glanced at her cart with the enthusiasm of someone being asked to move a couch. "Afternoon," Eleanor said softly, her voice carrying the politeness of a generation raised on manners. Ryan said nothing. He scanned her items with theatrical slowness, each beep of the register punctuated by an exaggerated sigh. When the total flashed on the screen, $18.43, Eleanor reached into her worn purse and pulled out a small coin pouch. Her fingers, gnarled with arthritis, fumbled with the zipper. "Take your time," Ryan muttered, loud enough for the line behind her to hear. A few people shifted uncomfortably. One man checked his watch. Eleanor's hands trembled as she counted out quarters, dimes, nickels. The coins clinked against the counter, some rolling dangerously close to the edge. Ryan made no effort to help. Instead, he glanced at the growing line and raised his eyebrows as if to say, "Can you believe this?" "Ma'am, do you need help counting that?" he asked, his voice dripping with condescension. Eleanor's cheeks flushed pink. I'm sorry. My hand's just—" "It's fine," Ryan interrupted, leaning back with his arms crossed. "Happens when you're old." Soft laughter rippled through the line. Someone whispered something to their friend. Eleanor's fingers moved faster, more frantic. She counted once, twice. $18.25. She was short. 18 cents short. Her heart sank. She looked up at Ryan, then down at her groceries, then at the pack of candles sitting beside the register. I'll put these back," she said quietly, reaching for them. But Ryan was faster. He snatched the candles and held them up like a trophy, his grin wide and cruel. "Guess the party's canceled, huh?" The laughter grew louder this time. A teenager near the back of the line recorded the moment on his phone. Eleanor's eyes watered, but she refused to let the tears fall. She'd survived too much to cry in a grocery store. She nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line, and began gathering her coins. Behind her, a man in a tailored charcoal suit watched in silence. Lucas Trent had entered the store 10 minutes earlier, carrying nothing but a to-go coffee cup. He wasn't there to shop. He was there to observe, something he did occasionally, unannounced visits to his own stores to see how his employees treated people when they thought no one important was watching. His eyes had been on Eleanor since she entered Ryan's line. He'd seen the trembling hands, the careful counting, the quiet apology. And now he saw the mockery. His jaw tightened. He said nothing. "Not yet." Eleanor whispered, barely audible, "It's okay. I don't want any trouble." Ryan shrugged, tossing the candles into a bin beside his register. "Trouble? Lady, you brought exact change for 1950. More laughter. Eleanor lowered her head, wishing she could disappear. She fumbled with her coins, trying to scoop them back into her pouch, but her hands shook so badly that several fell to the floor. She knelt down slowly, painfully, to retrieve them. That's when Lucas stepped forward. The voice was calm, measured, but it cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone turned. Lucas Trent stood directly behind Eleanor now, his expression unreadable. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He simply looked at Ryan with the kind of steady gaze that made people second-guess themselves. Ryan blinked, momentarily thrown off. Then his smirk returned. "Oh, we've got a hero," he said, his voice mocking. "Big spender, huh? Sure, man. Let's see that fancy card." Lucas reached into his jacket and placed a sleek black credit card on the counter. It was minimalist, elegant, the kind of card that didn't need logos to announce its worth. Ryan picked it up, turned it over, and slid it through the reader with exaggerated flair. The machine beeped. Red light. Declined. Ryan's grin stretched so wide it looked painful. "Oh man. Oh, this is perfect." He held the card up like a referee showing a red card. "Looks like we've got two broke shoppers today. What would you do if this happened in front of you? Would you step in like Lucas, or stay quiet like everyone else did?" Don't forget, subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading them all. The line erupted. Whispers turned into snickers. Someone behind Lucas muttered, "Should have stayed out of it." The teenager with the phone zoomed in. This was content gold. Eleanor looked mortified. She turned to Lucas, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, don't. It's just groceries." But Lucas wasn't looking at her. He was looking at Ryan, his expression still calm. He reached back into his jacket, slower this time, and pulled out a second card. This one was different. Heavier. Silver titanium. And engraved along the bottom, in small, precise lettering, Trent Holdings Group. He placed it on the counter. Ryan hesitated. Something about the card made him pause, but his pride wouldn't let him back down now. He swiped it. The machine beeped. Green light. Approved. The laughter stopped. The line went silent. Ryan stared at the screen, confused. The receipt began printing, a long, deliberate sound in the sudden quiet. Lucas took the pen, signed his name with practiced ease, and handed the receipt back. Then he looked Ryan dead in the eye. "You know what's funny?" Lucas said, his voice soft but sharp. "The people you laugh at on their worst day often remember your name forever." Ryan's smile faltered. The confidence drained from his face like water from a cracked glass. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. Lucas turned to Eleanor, his expression softening. "Ma'am, do you have everything you need?" She nodded, tears now openly streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He picked up her bags himself, carefully placing the candles on top. The same candles Ryan had mocked. The same candles meant for a birthday that would only be celebrated in memory. As Lucas guided Eleanor toward the exit, a voice erupted from the back of the store. "Mr. Trent. Mr. Trent, wait." A stocky man in a button-down shirt and tie came running, literally running, down the aisle, his face red with panic. It was Gerald Grayson, the store manager. He skidded to a stop in front of Lucas, breathless, his eyes wide with horror. "Mr. Trent, I didn't know you were visiting today." If I'd known." Lucas held up a hand. "That's exactly why I don't announce these visits, Gerald." Grayson's eyes darted to Eleanor, then to Ryan, then back to Lucas. The pieces were falling into place. Did something happen? Ryan, still frozen behind the register, felt his stomach drop. Lucas gestured to the cashier. "Ask him." Grayson turned slowly to face Ryan, his expression a mixture of confusion and dread. "Ryan, what's going on?" Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. There was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Lucas's voice was still calm, but now it carried an edge. He stepped closer to the register, his presence filling the space. "Is that what you call mocking a customer for being 18 cents short?" Grayson's face went pale. "He did what?" Eleanor, standing beside Lucas, looked between the two men in confusion. "You two know each other?" Lucas turned to her, his expression softening again. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I should have introduced myself properly. My name is Lucas Trent. I own Trent Holdings Group." Eleanor blinked. "You own?" "This store," Lucas said gently, "and 47 others across 3 states. The murmurs started immediately. Customers pulled out their phones. The teenager who'd been recording earlier now pointed his camera directly at Ryan, whose face had gone from red to white to a sickly shade of green. "Sir," Ryan stammered, stepping out from behind the register. "I didn't mean anything by it. I was just joking." "She wasn't. It was just a joke." Lucas's gaze didn't waver. Humor is supposed to lift people, not crush them. Ryan's hands shook. "Please, Mr. Trent. I need this job." "You need this job," Lucas repeated slowly. "And she needs to buy birthday candles for her dead husband. Which one of those needs do you think matters more in this moment?" Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. Eleanor's hand flew to her mouth. "How did you?" Lucas glanced at the receipt still in his hand. October 17th. The date caught my eye. And the candles? Well, no one buys a single pack of candles for themselves. Tears spilled freely down Eleanor's cheeks now. He would have been 75 today. Lucas nodded slowly. "Then these candles matter." He turned back to Ryan. "And you threw them in the trash." Grayson stepped forward, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "Ryan, is this true? Did you mock this woman?" Ryan looked around desperately, but there was no escape. A dozen phones were pointed at him now. The story would be online within the hour. His voice cracked. "Yes, but I didn't know." "You didn't know she mattered?" Lucas interrupted. "Or you didn't know I was watching?" Ryan had no answer. Lucas turned to Grayson. "Pull the security footage. I want a full review of today's interactions. Every customer, every transaction. And I want a written report on my desk by Monday morning." "Yes, sir. Absolutely." Grayson shot a look at Ryan that could have melted steel. "Ryan, go to the break room. Now, we'll discuss your future here in private." Ryan's legs barely carried him. He stumbled toward the back, his career crumbling with every step. The customers watched him go, some with satisfaction, others with pity. But no one laughed now. Lucas turned his attention back to Eleanor, his voice gentle once more. "Ma'am, I apologize on behalf of this company. What happened here today is unacceptable." Eleanor shook her head, wiping her eyes. "You don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." "I hired him," Lucas said simply. "That makes it my responsibility." He reached into his wallet and pulled out a business card. On the back, he wrote something by hand. "If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, call this number. It's my direct line." Eleanor stared at the card, overwhelmed. "I don't understand. Why are you being so kind to me?" Lucas smiled, the first real smile he'd shown since entering the store. "Because my mother was you once. She raised me alone after my father left. I watched her count change at registers while people like him." He gestured toward where Ryan had been standing. "Made her feel small. I built this company so people like her, like you, would never have to feel that way in my stores." Eleanor's voice broke. "Your mother would be proud." "I hope so." Lucas picked up her bags again and walked her to the door. Outside, the evening sun cast long shadows across the parking lot. Eleanor's old sedan sat alone near the back. Lucas carried her groceries all the way there, loading them carefully into her trunk. Before he closed it, he reached in and pulled out the pack of candles. He placed them in her hands. "Light these for your husband tonight," he said. "Some things are worth remembering." Eleanor couldn't speak. She simply nodded, clutching the candles to her chest like they were made of gold. As Lucas walked back toward the store, Eleanor called after him. "Mr. Trent." He turned. "Thank you," she said, her voice stronger now. "Not just for today. For everything." Lucas nodded once, then disappeared back into the store. Behind him, Eleanor stood in the parking lot, holding a pack of birthday candles, and for the first time in 3 years, she smiled on her husband's birthday. 1 week later, Eleanor Brooks sat at her small kitchen table, sorting through the day's mail. Bills, mostly. A flyer for a landscaping service she couldn't afford. A postcard from a charity asking for donations. And then an envelope. Heavy cream-colored paper. Expensive. The return address read, Trent Holdings Group, Corporate Headquarters. Her hands trembled, but this time, not from arthritis. She opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter on embossed stationery. "Dear Mrs. Brooks, it was an honor to meet you last week. Your grace under difficult circumstances reminded me why I started this company in the first place. To serve people with dignity, not take it from them. Enclosed you'll find a lifetime grocery card, valid at all Trent Holdings locations. There are no spending limits, no expiration dates, and no strings attached. It's a small gesture, but I hope it brings you some measure of comfort. You mentioned your husband loved chocolate cake. Next time you bake one, add an extra candle. One for him, and one for the kindness you've shown the world simply by being in it. With deepest respect, Lucas Trent. Eleanor's hands shook as she pulled out the second item in the envelope, a sleek black card with her name embossed on it. Beneath the signature panel, a single line, "For the candles you never got to return." She sat at that table for 20 minutes, crying. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming weight of being seen. That evening, she baked a chocolate cake, her husband's favorite. She set it on the table with 2 candles. One for John. One for the stranger who'd reminded her that the world still had good people in it. She lit them both, the flames dancing in the dim kitchen light. "Happy birthday, John," she whispered. A stranger made it special again. Across town, in the back warehouse of Brookside Supermart, Ryan Cooper stacked boxes. His cashier vest was gone, replaced by a plain gray t-shirt and a badge that read trainee. He wasn't fired. Lucas Trent didn't believe in throwing people away, but he was demoted. Customer service training, sensitivity workshops, supervised shifts under Gerald Grayson's watchful eye. Second chances aren't free. Grayson had told him on his first day back. Mr. Trent believes in them, but that doesn't mean they're easy. You have to earn your way back. Ryan nodded, his pride shattered but his perspective shifting. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be humbled. He thought about Eleanor Brooks often. The way her hands had trembled. The way she'd apologized for existing. The way he'd laughed. He couldn't take it back. But he could be better. Lucas Trent sat in his corner office downtown, the city lights stretching out before him like a constellation. On his desk sat a framed photo, his mother, standing in front of their first grocery store, a tiny place in a rough neighborhood where she'd worked 3 jobs to keep the lights on. He picked up the frame, studying her face. She'd passed away 5 years ago, just before the company went national. She never got to see what he'd built, but he liked to think she knew. His phone buzzed. A text from Gerald Grayson, footage reviewed, training implemented. Ryan's making progress. Lucas typed back. Good. People deserve second chances. But dignity isn't negotiable. He set the phone down and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Eleanor was lighting candles. Ryan was learning. And a grocery store in a small town was just a little bit kinder than it was a week ago. It wasn't world peace, but it was something. The next morning, Lucas drove past Brookside Supermart on his way to another location. He slowed as he passed, glancing through the windows. The store was busy, families, workers, elderly shoppers. All of them just trying to get through their day. He thought about his mother again. About the cashiers who'd been kind to her, and the ones who hadn't. About the difference a single moment could make in someone's life. A voice echoed in his mind, not his mother's, but his own. Power doesn't reveal who you are. It reveals who you've been pretending not to be. He drove on, the store fading in his rearview mirror, but the lesson lingering. Would you forgive Ryan if you were Lucas? Or would you have fired him on the spot? Comment below. Do you believe people like Ryan deserve second chances? Let's see where you stand. That night, as Eleanor blew out the candles on her small chocolate cake, a thought crossed her mind, one she'd carry with her for the rest of her days. The measure of a person isn't how they treat the rich, the powerful, or the important. It's how they treat the tired, the slow, the forgotten, and the invisible. Kindness is the only currency that never declines. And cruelty always comes due. Somewhere across town, Ryan stacked another box, his back aching, his pride gone, but his conscience finally awake. And in his office high above the city, Lucas Trent turned off the lights and went home, carrying the quiet satisfaction of knowing he'd honored his mother's memory one grocery trip at a time. The story of Eleanor Brooks and the cashier who mocked her spread through Brookside within days. But it wasn't told as a tale of revenge. It was told as a reminder. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Choose kindness. Always. Because you never know who's watching. And you never know whose card will decline next.